So you guys might be wondering, why should I even jump into the real estate market right now? Things just seem so uncertain. I'm fine where I'm at. I'm just going to continue renting. Well, just going to show you guys a little bit as to why you should think about not doing that, why you can make so much more money if you don't do that, and what the market is actually looking like most likely. So what's the market forecasting? Just going to show you guys some articles here. And those of you who are renting apartments or houses definitely know that prices are going up. It's the only thing that they're really doing. Not to go into too much of the math in this short video, but long story short, if the purchase price, the price that the property is bought at, is higher than for the investor to make money, the rentals need to be higher as well. It's just the math behind it. And here in this Wall Street Journal article, we see that for the last few years, the amount of profit that these companies have been making is kind of going down a little bit. So what this means, and it's talked about here in this article, but more clearly laid out in this one, is that 17% is what the prices jumped up. So if you have been renting, obviously you probably have seen this already, but that's almost 20%. So just to put into perspective for you guys, if y'all have been renting a spot for $1,000 a month, that's almost $200, and that's almost $2,400 a year that you're not saving, that you're not actually able to use on things that you want to buy, that you just have to pay more for an asset that at the end of the day you're not even going to be able to keep. And I know a lot of people are saying that, well, the interest rates are just kind of high right now. I don't know if I want to buy because I'm just going to stick with my lease. I'm just going to keep on renting, and when the rates come back down, then I'll jump in. Then I'll jump into the market. Well, let me tell you guys just a couple things about what the interest rates are likely going to do, and just some of the strategies that you can take as right now when the interest rates are quote unquote high, and why they aren't necessarily high on a large scale. So, jumping on to the first one, why they're not actually high interest rates right now. Well, long story short, not too far off ago in the 70s, 80s, and around there, it wasn't too common to see double-digit interest rates. Back when some of our brokers bought their first properties, or some of the older ones when they bought their second and third investment properties, it was definitely not uncommon to see 17% and things such as that. And so right now, us seeing 5% and 5.5%, these are more normal rates, but they are going to continue to rise as the Fed tries to control the whole housing market and everything like that. So, long story short, if the rates go up and if the rates go down, you're still at a better spot not renting and getting a house. Well, why is that? Well, number one reason is when you're renting a house, 100% of the money you're paying goes towards interest. You're paying somebody else's interest. You're paying somebody else's profit as well. None of the money that you pay when you're renting an apartment goes to you in the future, right? So unless you're planning to only live in a city for 6 months or a year, right? So you have a definite plan to only stay there for a minute, then it really wouldn't make sense to rent. And even if then you could plan to have the property as an investment property, or in today's market, it might even be worth way more. So that's point number one, is that when you rent, you're just paying somebody else and you're not actually gaining any wealth by doing that. Point number two is, well, what if the rates continue to rise? Well, that's kind of what seems the most likely, especially for the rest of the summer. Afterwards, things can change up, but what the Fed's more than likely going to do throughout the rest of the summer is continue to increase rates slowly but surely, kind of like the way they have been doing. And if they do that, then that's good. If you buy a house in June or July, and throughout the rest of the year the rates continue to go up, then that's good. You bought it at the right time, and more than likely the rates, the appreciation, are going to continue to go up. We saw some real nice appreciation for stuff back in 2020 to 21 and 21 to 22. But now what's important to y'all who haven't bought a house, who are just still renting, is, well, what the heck is going to happen for this year? Well, if we look at what the experts are predicting, more than likely it's going to be somewhere around just under 10%, close to 9%. I can definitely tell you areas in Atlanta and Metro Atlanta that are going to appreciate way more and in the double digits. And there's also some spots that are a little bit more overhyped and probably a little bit lower than 9%. But overall, what we're going to see across the board is somewhere close to that. And so that's point number 2 right there. If rates go up, well, that's awesome. You bought at a point where the home values are relatively cheaper than what they're going to be in 3, 5, 7 years from now. So you bought when the houses were cheaper, and if the rates go up, you bought when the rates were lower, relatively speaking. Point number 3, it's the real doozy that a lot of people are having a tough time wrapping their head around. What happens if the interest rates do go back down? So, in my opinion, the only thing that could happen that would push the interest rates back down, and I got to be careful not to say the specific word, otherwise the video could be affected on social media. But the COVID-19 pandemic, whenever that happened, that affected interest rates, right? Caused them to go lower, and the home values to go higher. So let's say that something like that does happen. Let's say that we have another wave. Let's say that we have some sort of geopolitical thing that happens, and that causes interest rates to go down. Well, if you buy today at 5.5% or so, and it goes back down to 3%, then all you have to do is refinance your house. Because at that point, your house is going to be worth more and the rates are going to be lower. So typically what people do is if either one of those two things happens, then they'll consider refinancing. Either their house is worth significantly more or the rates have gone down a decent amount. So when one of those two things happens, people consider refinancing, and then we look at the math and everything, tell them if it's worth it or not. But if the rates do go down and you own a property, you're in a great spot, because not owning a property, you're losing money every single month, every single year that the values keep on treading up, and you're losing money. So the appreciation, right? Choosing to not have an asset that increases over time, you're losing money there. And then you're also losing money in the month to month, day by day, by paying somebody else's mortgage. Your landlord has a mortgage on the property, and by renting and continuing to rent, you're just paying off their mortgage for them, right? You're helping them make passive income. You're helping them make wealth, which, at a time, if you have to rent for whatever reason, not the worst thing in the world, but just understand the alternatives and what you're choosing to do by renting. And just understand too, because we work with a lot of people who might not necessarily have a great credit score, but they make okay income, or they have a bad credit score, but all right income, right? There's all kinds of combinations of people who normally would not qualify, but they don't know that out there are government programs to help people. There's government programs out there like a USDA loan to help people with no down payment buy houses in more rural areas. There's programs out there to help people who are going to buy in urban areas but have smaller down payments, like conventional down payment assistance programs. There's all kinds of stuff out there to help people that your average person isn't going to hear from their landlord, right? It's not in your landlord's best interest to tell you all these things about the pros of buying a house, so you're probably not going to hear it from them. But like I said, there's a ton of resources out there, and me and my team would love to help people out, to help them be homeowners, to help them grow wealth through real estate. Obviously, it's not a get-rich-quick scheme, but if you stick to it, if you choose to make the right decisions, if you don't over-leverage yourself, right, don't get a property that you can't afford to pay, then you can make a lot of money in the long run. That's for sure. So if you guys do have questions about anything I talked about in this video, definitely feel free to reach out. Contact info is going to be down below. Thank you.